Donald Trump just got the kind of news that tends to rattle even the most defiant political figure. The controversy surrounding the Epstein files isn't fading into the background, it's intensifying. Despite repeated claims that everything has been released, a new investigation suggests the public may have seen only a tiny fraction of what federal authorities actually gathered. Reports from Channel 4 News indicate that internal emails between investigators and prosecutors raise serious doubts about whether the Department of Justice truly disclosed the full scope of its evidence. The material made public could represent as little as 2% of the total data collected. To understand the scale, federal agents reportedly processed between 20 and 40 terabytes of data seized from Epstein's properties, including homes in Florida and New York, as well as his private island. Internal communications referenced even larger volumes, up to 50 terabytes. That kind of digital storage could translate into tens of millions of documents. If that estimate holds true, then what has been released so far would be just a sliver of the full record. The obvious question becomes, what accounts for the rest? As these revelations circulate, Trump's political standing appears to be weakening. Recent polling shows his net approval rating sinking to new lows in his second term.
Through. Let's take a look at another president, though. President Donald John Trump. Look at this. I got 4 numbers across for you on this screen here. They are all second-term lows for the given pollster. What are we talking about? AP North, 26 points below water. NBC, 22 points below water. Yahoo YouGov, 20 points below water. Quinnipiac, 19 points below water. So we're ranging from negative 19 points all the way to negative 26 points. You know, Kate, there's this question that folks keep asking. You know, where is the floor for Donald Trump? And I'm not sure there is a floor, because if there is one, Donald Trump, at least in term number 2, has just fallen through it to another low level.
How does this compare with his first term, and how does this compare with Joe Biden?
Okay, so we look at these numbers right here. One of the things that Donald Trump had been arguing, his proponents have been arguing, oh, you know what, he's doing better than he was doing in term number 1. No longer is that the case. What are we talking about here? Okay, net approval rating at this point in the term. Look at this. 22 points below water on average when you average all the pollsters from the last slide. That is actually lower. That is lower than he was at this point in term number 1, when he was 17 points below water. So he's doing 5 points worse, 5 points worse. And he's doing way worse than Joe Biden was doing at this point in his term number 1, when he was 13 points below water. So the bottom line is this. Donald Trump is setting new records for himself in term number 2, setting new records for himself compared to where he was at this point in term number 1. And he's doing worse than Joe Biden, which is, of course, the comparison that Donald Trump does not want to be, because we all know what happened to Joe Biden. His party lost the House in term number 1, that midterm elections. And of course, Joe Biden was not reelected to another term. At this point, the numbers are no bueno for the president of the United States.
What's driving this that you're seeing right now?
Okay, Kate. You know what? This is the segment. We have done it over and over and over again because he keeps setting new lows for himself. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about independence. We're talking about independence. When you lose the center of the electorate, you lose the American people. Trump's net approval rating among independents, you know, at this point, you go back term number 1, he was 17 points below water. Now, according to Quinnipiac, he is 27 points below water. I don't understand how this works out well for the president of the United States. When you are 27 points below water, underwater, with the center of the electorate, with independents, you lose, your party loses. You know, I've made the comparisons before, you know, oh, he's more underwater than Greg Louganis. I've made the comparisons with all those different divers. And the bottom line is this, you can continue to make those, but over time, when you keep making those same comparisons, they run a little bit old. But at this point, I don't really know who to even compare Donald Trump to, because he's just so low, and he's so low with the center of the electorate.
Can only be compared to himself.
That's correct.
Harry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Across several major surveys, he is now deeply underwater, in some cases more than 20 points below even approval levels. On average, he is performing worse than he did at the same point in his first term, and worse than Joe Biden was at a comparable stage of his presidency. For a leader who often measures success by poll numbers and public perception, that trend is difficult to dismiss. The most troubling indicator for Trump may be his standing with independent voters. These voters often decide close elections, and recent data shows him significantly underwater with that group. Political history suggests that when a president loses the center of the electorate by wide margins, electoral consequences tend to follow. It is not just about short-term headlines. It is about long-term political viability. Meanwhile, legal and institutional pushback continues. In Philadelphia, Judge Cynthia Roof, a George W. Bush appointee, cited George Orwell's 1984, a ruling ordering the administration to restore slavery-focused historical panels at a federal site. Her opinion emphasized that the government does not have the authority to reshape or obscure historical truth at will. The symbolism of invoking Orwell in a federal courtroom underscores how heated and consequential these disputes have become. At the same time, governors such as Josh Shapiro have framed the broader debate in terms of leadership, accountability, and empathy. Shapiro, who previously served as Pennsylvania's Attorney General, has spoken publicly about the responsibility of prosecutors to stand with victims and uphold the rule of law, even when powerful interests are involved. His perspective adds another layer to the national conversation about transparency and public trust. Taken together, the resurfacing questions about the Epstein files, declining approval ratings, judicial rebukes, and growing political scrutiny create a challenging environment. Whether these developments lead to lasting consequences remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, the combination of unresolved document disclosures and slipping public support is placing renewed pressure on Trump at a pivotal moment.